Hey everybody, I'm Sam Haymartin. You're watching Growing Older Gay. This is Kitchen Table for Friday, March 21st, 2025. This is my weekly episode where I sit down at my kitchen table and I talk to you about what's going on in my life, what's going on in my radar and my purview, and what I'm hearing from my friends out there as it relates to kitchen table issues in the LGBTQ fishbowl. So we usually do this in one take, and so there's going to be some jump edits as we go along, and I got to tell you, we got a long episode today. Usually I've got a little half page. I've got a lot of stuff to cover today, and a lot of it's very important. A few things are uplifting, some things, honestly, it was a crazy week out there in the world as it relates to what's happening in our country and what's happening in the gay community. So the first thing is it's a heavy topic, I'll be honest with you. There is a person from our local area who's gone missing, Marcus Freiberger, and he's a person who I don't personally know, but I have a lot of good friends here in the community who do know him well. He went missing as he was reportedly scheduled to go on a blind date in downtown Phoenix on February 21st. He's not been heard from since. He was last driving his truck, which is a white 2021 GMC Sierra with, it was a 2500 model, I believe they said, and the license number 3MA66L. Now, if you know anything, you can call the Phoenix Police, 602-534-2121. This is scary stuff because this is not some person that's a small stature who typically fits the victim. I mean, this is a guy, he's 6 foot plus. He weighs 220 plus pounds. He's muscular. He's built. He's a strong, masculine guy who doesn't look like somebody you'd want to screw around with, yet he's gone missing. Now, there have been no reports yet on what exactly happened or why, and I suspect that the police probably have some information relative to radar tracking of his truck. Most new vehicles today have devices in them that you can find out where they're at. My vehicle does, made in 2022. Most new cars, GM has OnStar and phone data as well. So all I would say is if you know this person, if you've seen this person, maybe you've seen a white GMC Sierra truck sitting around someplace where it just doesn't belong, look into that. Check that out. And I hate to follow this up because I don't know what happened here, but the bottom line is all of us out there in our community right now need to be very vigilant, very careful, especially if we're on our phone, if we're on the apps, if we're out there going to meet people. Just be careful. Let somebody know where you're going and who you're going to meet. If you're going to meet somebody for a blind date or whether you just have some new thing that you're going to do and you're going someplace new, just be very vigilant and very careful. I've taken precautions in my own life, not only because I'm who I am and where I'm at, but because of what I'm doing right here. I'm putting myself out there as an advocate for the LGBTQ plus community. And so I have been watching very carefully about who I'm in contact with and who I'm meeting, where I'm going. I would recommend something like I have a phone that allows me to allow others to always see where I am on the map at any time. I can let other people see my location, and I highly recommend that. And it takes some guts to trust somebody with that, right? Whether it's your partner, your spouse, your lover, maybe you just have a wingman out there, somebody you trust, somebody in the family, but it's helpful to allow somebody to be able to see where you're at all times. And because that tracking data is out there, if something ever happens to me or you and we go missing, that data is out there for a starting point for somebody to try to find us and to help determine what led up to our disappearance. There's a lot of things out there. I could do a whole video, and we might just do a video on this, on precautions we can take, but it's a dangerous time out there for us, folks. Watch yourself and take precautions. Write something down before you leave to go someplace, where you're going and what you're doing. Very important. So on a more uplifting note, I'm going to talk about an event coming up, and that is Smokeout 2025 in Las Vegas. That's coming up on April 23rd through the 28th. This is an annual event. It's just a lot of fun. It's a get-together at a hotel where gay men who are into cigars, mostly bears and leather guys, but a lot of variation there, get together and have a lot of fun, party it up, enjoy cigars together. And this is kind of a tribe that kind of usually falls in sync, right? We've seen the cigar guys at the bars, and I'm one of those. And we typically tend to fall into the leather, the bear, the blue collar, but it's not always the case. There's a wide variety of people involved. This weekend looks like a lot of fun. The website, LasVegasSmokeout.com, that link is down below. Check it out. There's still time to go. Plan, get your tickets, and get reservations. And I've not been to this event yet, but I have a lot of friends who have, and I hope to pretty soon. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, now we're going to start getting into some heavier topics here, politically speaking. The Pride festivals are going to be coming up this spring, and we talked about it a little bit in some of our previous videos, but things are going to start looking a little bit different this year as it relates to our Pride festivals out there. Now, it has to be pointed out, when Pride festivals first started back in the 70s and 80s, they were protests. They were marches to really point out who we are and that we deserve rights and respect. They were protests, okay? They weren't, oh, we're having fun, we're going to go to the party and the dance afterwards, and it's the circuit party, I'm going to wear my Dayglow stuff and go, wee! No, it wasn't that. It was, we're going to die and we're going to go to jail if you people don't start changing the laws and recognizing that our community is under duress. And I hate to say it, folks, but we're going back to that. We're back in it already, just in a couple of months of the new regime in Washington. And the reason I bring this up is because Pride festivals around the country are facing a pretty unwelcome thing this year. It was just announced this week that the San Francisco Pride is right now looking at a $300,000 shortfall on their budget because a number of big, huge corporate sponsors that have been reliable over the past couple of decades have completely pulled out. And a lot of these are companies that we know they are the ones who have pulled back on their DEI, who have stopped spending money on anything that even just sounds like woke. But a lot of these big corporations that have been rubbing elbows with us going, oh, we love you, are now turning the other cheek and turning their backs on us. And on one hand, that's, unfortunate. That's unfortunate that a lot of these big corporations have decided not to be a part of supporting our community anymore. But I think it's a good thing. And there's a lot of people out there that may disagree with me. I think it is a wake-up moment for our community to understand that the corporate world has never really been on our side. They were just there because they saw money in us, an opportunity in us, and it made somebody in the boardroom feel good that they were doing the right thing. And yes, there are some big corporations out there that genuinely do walk their talk. But a lot of these big corporations like Anheuser-Busch and some of the others, Meta, they don't give a flying about us. They just don't. And so what I think this is going to do is give us a healthy rebirth in our Pride celebrations, in our events, our festivals, our parades. This is going to help us sort of revisit why we're doing this in the first place. Because as we go into Pride season this year, I think we're going to see it's going to be a lot more about bringing the community together to fight for our rights, our freedoms, and our way of life. Yes, we're going to still have a dance. Yes, we're still going to have fun, but it's going to be a lot less about the corporate, lines and lines of booths of these different banks, of these companies that are out there trying to get our attention. And I think that's a good thing. I really, really do. So, I'm sorry to see that San Francisco Pride is going to go through this year, but I think there's a lot of big Pride celebrations around the country that can trim the budget a little bit and, maybe cut a few circuit parties out of the equation and make it more about why we're here in the first place. Yeah. So it's going to be a fun and important Pride season for all of us. Tesla. Well, we've all seen the news, haven't we? Tesla is really taking a beating right now, and it's a self-inflicted one, right? The founder and owner of the company has been out there jumping into politics in a way that's not very popular with a lot of people out there, particularly Tesla customers and the genre of people that typically went after Teslas. And so we've been seeing protests around the country. We've been seeing, unfortunately, vandalism around the country towards these cars because this is a way that people can protest easily and get the attention, right? It's hard to protest and get people's attention in Washington. You don't feel like you're moving the needle. But a lot of people are going right for Tesla because it's the one place where you can get one person's attention, very quickly, although so far it doesn't look like it's getting his attention. But there is a website out there called TeslaTakedown.com. They are planning a big day of protest on March 29th to protest dealers, to protest locations, and to really show up in mass and show our dissatisfaction as a people in an area where at least one person is going to see and hear that might be willing to get smart. That remains to be seen. But the other half of this is the fact that all of this bad karma around this, all of this bad energy, all of this bad juju around Tesla right now, there's a lot of people out there that own Teslas right now that are getting bad mouth. They're getting the finger in traffic. They're getting treated like crap because they're in a Tesla. And it bears repeating to keep in mind that a lot of these people bought these cars before the owner of this company went nuts and went off the deep end. And these are good people. I can count right through both of my hands, and I mean that quite literally. I did it the other day, of all of my friends who I know quite well, who are good people. They're in the gay community. They're liberal, that own a Tesla right now as I speak. And these aren't people who support Musk. These aren't people who support what's going on. They are people, some of them have gotten rid of their cars. Some of them want to, but they can't financially. Trading out of it, it's just not something they can easily do right now. They are embarrassed to be driving around in their cars. They're scared in some cases. And in almost all cases, they've gotten those stickers that you've seen out there on the back of their cars that go, mea culpa, I bought this car before the owner of the company went nuts. Please don't hurt me. And so the message I'd convey is protest the company, protest the locations, do what you can to drive the stock down. But please don't mistreat the owners of these cars. They didn't do this. Most of these people bought these cars before all of this crazy shit went down. And so I'm just saying don't beat up on the people that own them, okay? So have a little bit of respect. Just because they're behind the wheel of a Tesla doesn't mean they are on board with all of this stuff going on in Washington. So take down the company, not the owners. The next thing, poppers have been in the news in the last week. And I'll start out by saying I am not an advocate of poppers. I'm not doing this story to advocate for poppers, but poppers are something that in the gay community most people know about. And if you don't know, look it up. But chances are, if you're watching this show, you know exactly what poppers are. The FDA cracked down on a number of large manufacturers last week, essentially shut them down. And if you're somebody who knows the popper brands, you can go out there right now on the websites of the world and find out that a lot of these companies have gone dark on their websites. They've eliminated their social media, and a lot of them were pretty out there on social media advertising the product. And basically the FDA, under the current administration, is attacking the companies who make poppers. Now, there's a lot of reasons you can say why. First of all, they are in a legal gray area. They are technically illegal for the use that poppers tend to be used for out there as a party drug or a relaxant. Whatever you use poppers for, it's technically illegal. Okay. That's why they're sold as head cleaner, solvent. That's why they're sold as room odorizers and things like that. Because if they say on the bottle and they advertise them for what you're buying them for, that's illegal. And so it's going to be very hard for these companies to really do much to fight against what's happening. The point is, it's happening. And it shouldn't be anyone's surprise that the current FDA is going after these companies, Double Scorpio, Rush, and there's 2 or 3 others I'm not going to name, but they're down. They're gone. Last Friday, after I did this episode, last week's episode, I was actually at one of my local adult stores doing HIV testing. It's something that I do every so often. For the customers that come in. And they were having lines of people at the counter buying up all of the poppers because they'd gotten the news that this is going on. And so there's a run out there on poppers. There's some stores that have pulled them from their shelves just because they're scared and they don't know what's going to happen. And of course, the FDA is not transparent about this. They're not going, oh, this is the rule now. This is what's going to happen. This is who we're going to go after if you follow across this line. They're not doing that. They're making it worse by leaving it a gray area so nobody really knows. And that is the modus operandi of this administration. That's what they want to do. They want to work through fear and doubt and gray. So here's what I'm going to recommend. And again, I'm not promoting paupers, but I'm saying if you're going to have them, if you're going to use them, just be careful out there in the world, depending on where you live. If you have them in your car and that bottle's open, maybe if you're going to meet a friend, or maybe you just keep them in your car for those meetups, things like that, be kind of careful about that, because if you get pulled over, they find that, it's just another area. It's a gray area of something that could get you in trouble. If you go to a TSA checkpoint, if you're traveling, maybe you have it in your luggage, maybe you have it in your check bags, be careful. I would recommend not even traveling with it right now, just in case they put a memo out to the TSA that you need to start banging people for this. You don't know. We don't know yet. And so at least until this settles out and we get some better ideas, just be careful out there. And I would even go so far to say next is if your status as a citizen is not 100%, I'm a citizen of the country, be careful with that, because they're looking for any little excuse to pop people out of this country, to detain them, to disappear them. Even people with green cards right now are getting detained, and without very much due process. The government just says, well, they're a criminal, they've done this, they've done that, we're just going to disappear them. And while I don't think that people with poppers in their suitcase at the airport are going to start getting pulled and deported, after everything we've seen just in the past couple of months, it's not that crazy to start. It's not that big a leap anymore. It used to be a big leap, but now it's just like, yeah, if I heard that in the news tomorrow, it wouldn't shock me. Another big news story this week that I think our community really needs to be aware of, and this is very important, is that the CDC is considering slashing HIV prevention funding. They have a whole unit within the CDC that for the past decades has been about HIV prevention. And so not only are they funding research, they're funding all sorts of programs out there at the state level, at the county level, at the city level, and out there private organizations like one that I do work with here in town for HIV testing, where it's offered free to people. All of these things are funded by federal money that comes right from here. And like I say, it's everything from testing on the street at your local whatever, when you show up and they go, hey, would you like an HIV test, to all the way up at the institution level where they're doing prevention and so forth. It could even include Ryan White, for those of you out there that are on Ryan White and you have HIV meds, and that's being taken care of through programs like that. These things are all in that basket of federal funding for HIV prevention and control. That's what the CDC is thinking about getting rid of. And think about that for a second. I mean, just think about what it would mean for the government to completely pull the mat out from under the entire HIV prevention network of people, places, and things out there that we have come to take for granted, that have brought HIV down to a thing that we really almost don't even worry about anymore. The point is that this is where we're at. So I hope you log cabin Republicans out there that signed up for this. I hope this is what you wanted. I hope this is what you wanted, because any idiot could have told you that this is what was going to happen, and this is where we're at. So there is still something we can do at this point. Call your senator, email your senator, write your senator, show up at your senator's office. Same with your congressperson. Most people can go right on the internet. They can go to senate.gov and they can send a letter to their senator, and it takes like 2 minutes. I've already done it on this very topic. I've done it a few times in the last month or so. And same with your congressperson. And show up, support some of the other entities out there that are fighting this stuff. Human Rights Campaign, ACLU, Lambda Legal. These organizations are the ones that are going to the Supreme Court and fighting our cases. They are the ones that are filing the lawsuits that are pushing back on this. They need financial help. They need our support. If anything, if you can't afford to give money to these organizations, at least go to their social media and share what they're talking about, because people need to know about it. And that really gets us to the point that, we are under attack. Not only people in the LGBTQ plus community, but right now it's the entire United States. Even people in red states that voted for this baloney are under attack. Their things are being taken away too. Everything. They're taking a sledgehammer to our entire infrastructure of government and society right now. They're doing that. That's not left-wing propaganda. That is there for everybody to see. Everybody can look at it. Everybody can see it. Okay, you don't have to depend on the left-leaning media to get this information. You can see it. It's happening. It's for real. And they're being honest about it. If you just listen to what the administration is saying and what they're proclaiming, that's not left-wing propaganda. That's what they're saying. It's what they're doing. And we have to fight back on it. Like no other time in the history of our country, no other time in the history of our community, we have to fight back. I hate to say it. Nobody likes fighting, but we have to. And that gets me to a quote that I heard this week, and I'm getting toward the end of our video here. It's a long one. Democracy is ensured by people demanding that we have one. And that was stated just this week by Keith Ellison, who's the Minnesota Attorney General. He is one of the Attorney Generals, state's Attorney Generals, who is filing a lot of the lawsuits on our nation's behalf, fighting back against some of the directives that this administration has been pulling. And so what he said is very powerful. Democracy is ensured by the people demanding that we have one. And that might very well mean that we're in person demanding that we have a democracy, because it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. And right now, it's getting chipped apart and smashed up with a sledgehammer. And our democratic elected officials are almost powerless to do very much about it. It's going to take people. It's going to take numbers of people pushing back on this in addition to everything else that's happening. And that gets us to the last thing I'll talk about here, which is the 50-51 movement. People's Veto Day, April 5th. That's going to be in Washington, D.C. Website is 5050.one. You can learn more about this organization. It's a collection of different organizations that are organizing protests all around the country. So if you're looking for some way to get out and demand democracy, this is one avenue in which to find out. Follow their social media, find out about what's happening out there, where you can go to stand up and be counted, because we have to do it. And look, I started this channel to be about gay health, gay spirituality, gay lifestyle, and fun and frolic for those of us that are maturing in the gay community. That was my goal here when I started this channel. And I launched it late last year, putting it together, built it slowly late last year. And that is still the goal of the content and the general gist of this channel. It is. But I also follow my heart as to what's going on. I read the room. As I sit here right now and I look out at you through my lens, this is what we've got to talk about. This is what's going on at the kitchen table. We can have all of that fun and go on our cruises and go on our trips, go to Smoke Out, go to the bathhouse. We can do all of these things that we love to do as gay people and enjoy our lives and have a quality life. But if we don't have a safe place to live, where our government is out there protecting us and watching over our back, we don't have any of those things. And so, yes, this channel has fast become a lot about politics here in the past couple of months. And that wasn't my goal, but it's what we got to talk about, folks. And I would tell you that if you're one of the log cabin Republicans that I referred to earlier in this video, I don't hate you. I have a lot to say about that, and you might be surprised about what it is that I say. Yeah. But I do have a special message for you, and you will see that right there. I put together a special video just to sort of chat a little bit about that and kind of my message to log cabin Republicans in this time we're in. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel right there and stay informed of everything we do. Either way, stay tuned.